The private investigator I hired to find my stalker sat across from me at my kitchen table, placed a thick manila envelope full of my cash back onto the laminate, set a loaded Sig Sauer 9mm right next to it, and said 8 words that made my stomach hit the floor. "Stop looking into this immediately. You're the one paying them." He didn't wait for me to respond. He didn't answer my questions. He just stood up, walked out into the rain, and slammed my front door shut. My name is Daniel Miller. I'm 32 years old. I work from home as a systems security auditor in a quiet suburb outside of Seattle. And up until 20 minutes ago, I thought someone was trying to destroy my life.
Now, I'm sitting alone in the dark, staring at a loaded gun on my kitchen table, realizing that the monster terrorizing me isn't standing outside my window. It's sitting in my chair. I live a quiet, almost completely isolated life. When you work in network security, isolation is part of the job. I spend 12 hours a day sitting in an ergonomic chair in my home office, auditing firewalls for regional banks, hunting for backdoors and data leaks. I don't go out much. I order my groceries online, I drink cold brew coffee by the pot, and my primary human interaction consists of muted Zoom calls with corporate IT directors. My home is a modest 2-story Craftsman at the end of a cul-de-sac in Bellevue, Washington. It's surrounded by tall Douglas firs and constant overcast skies. It's the kind of neighborhood where nothing happens. Neighbors cut their lawns on Saturday mornings, brush off their driveways, and keep to themselves. For 5 years, my life was predictable, boring even.
I had a routine. I'd wake up at 7 a.m., brew coffee, sit at my triple monitor setup until 6 p.m., make dinner, watch a movie, and go to bed by 11 p.m. I was organized. I kept spreadsheet logs of my monthly expenses, saved my receipts, and kept my house immaculate. I was in complete control of my environment. Until 3 months ago, when small things started going wrong. It started with things that were easy to rationalize. I'd leave my car keys on the entryway hook, and the next morning I'd find them sitting on top of the microwave. I'd set my coffee mug down on the desk, walk to the bathroom, and come back to find it placed precisely in the center of the kitchen sink. At first, I blamed stress. When you analyze thousands of lines of security code every day, your mind gets tired. You do things on autopilot. You misplace items. Then came the sleep issues. I'd go to sleep in my bed at 11 p.m. and wake up at 3:30 a.m., sitting upright on the living room sofa, fully dressed in my street clothes, staring at the blank television screen. No memory of getting up, no recollection of putting on my shoes, just a cold, lingering sensation of dread in my chest. I went to a doctor. He told me it was sleepwalking, triggered by burnout. He prescribed me a mild sedative and told me to take time off work. I took his advice. I locked my doors, set my security alarm, and tried to rest. That's when the first message arrived. It was an encrypted email sent to my primary inbox at 2:14 a.m. on a Tuesday. The subject line was blank. The body contained 0 text. It only had one attachment, a high-resolution JPEG image. I downloaded it, opened it, and felt
every drop of warmth drain from my body. The photo was taken from inside my own bedroom. It showed me fast asleep, pulled back in my sheets, taken from an angle right above my closet door. The timestamp on the image file was 2:10 a.m., 4 minutes before the email was sent. Someone had been standing in my bedroom while I slept, holding a camera, watching me breathe. I called the police immediately. 2 officers arrived 45 minutes later. They walked around the perimeter of my house, checked the window locks, and looked at the photo on my monitor. They were polite, but useless. They told me there were no signs of forced entry. The deadbolts were untouched. The security system sensors hadn't been triggered. They suggested it might be an automated phishing scam using a compromised webcam feed. Recommended I change my passwords, filed a report, and left. They thought I was paranoid. The next night, I stayed awake. I bought 3 high-end internal security cameras, mounted them in my hallway, living room, and bedroom, and connected them to a private local server that didn't run through the cloud. I locked my bedroom door from the inside and sat on my bed with a baseball bat. At 2:40 a.m., I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, barefoot footsteps walking down the hallway right outside my bedroom. I froze, my knuckles white on the grip of the bat. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. "I have a weapon!" I screamed toward the door. "The police are on their way!" The footsteps stopped immediately. Silence swallowed the house. I waited 2 hours before I built up the courage to open the door. The hallway was empty. I ran straight to my server room, pulled up the camera logs from the night, and scrubbed back the footage to 2:40 a.m. What I saw on the screen made no sense. The hallway camera showed the bedroom door opening slowly. I watched myself walk out into the hall. I was wearing a dark rain jacket I didn't recognize. I walked silently down the hall, walked down the stairs, opened the front door, and stepped out into the pouring rain. 10 minutes later, the footage showed me coming back inside, wiping my wet feet on the rug, going into the kitchen, opening the utensil drawer, taking out a pair of heavy brass key rings, and walking back up to the bedroom. I didn't remember any of it. I checked my coat closet. Hanging in the very back, dripping wet onto the hardwood floor, was a black Gore-Tex rain jacket. In the pocket was a receipts book and a pair of high-powered night vision binoculars. I wasn't just being stalked. Someone was invading my house, moving my things, and doing something to my mind while I slept. I was losing time. Whole hours were disappearing from my day, and every morning I'd find subtle clues left behind. Empty mugs of peppermint tea in the sink when I only drink black coffee, oil stains on the kitchen counter, dirty tire marks in my driveway from a vehicle I didn't own. I couldn't trust the police. I couldn't trust my own eyes. I needed professional help. That's when I hired Marcus Vance. Vance was a former senior homicide detective with the King County Sheriff's Office who had opened a high-end private intelligence agency in downtown Seattle. He specialized in corporate espionage, high-threat stalking, and personal security detail. He was expensive, His retainer was $5,000 up front, but his reputation was flawless. I met him at his office on a rainy Thursday morning. Vance was built like a brick wall. Late 50s, short gray hair, steady eyes, and a total lack of theatricality. He didn't smile. He listened to me speak for 45 minutes without interrupting once, taking notes in a leather-bound notebook with a heavy silver pen. Let me get this straight, Daniel. You think someone is entering your home without tripping the alarm, leaving photos of you on your computer and messing with your personal property, but you have no forced entry and your security system logs are clean?
I know how it sounds, I said, my voice trembling. I know it sounds crazy, but look at these photos. Look at the timestamps. I handed him a folder with printouts of the encrypted emails, the timestamp logs, and my bank statements.
Vance picked up my bank statements and blinked. He ran his thumb over a line item highlighted in yellow. "What's this?" he asked. "What?" "This wire transfer here. $1,200 every month to an offshore shell firm, registered as Etheria Consulting, LLC. It's been leaving your checking account on the first of every month for the last year." I frowned. That's just my recurring server hosting fee for my cybersecurity business. Vance looked at me for a long time, his gray eyes searching my face. He didn't press the issue. "All right, here's what we do. I'm putting 2 of my best operatives on your property. We'll set up covert long-range optics from the tree line across your cul-de-sac. We'll mirror your network traffic, run forensic sweeps on your router, and audit your home's wiring. If someone is entering your home, or if someone is remotely hijacking your hardware, I will find them in 7 days." "Thank you," I said, handing him an envelope containing $5,000 in $100 bills. "Please, find out who is doing this to me." Vance took the cash, slid it into his desk drawer, and gave me a firm nod. "Go home, Daniel." For the first 4 days, things seemed to settle down. Having Vance's team watching the house gave me a profound sense of relief. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. I stopped waking up on the couch. The encrypted emails stopped arriving. The quiet returned to my house. I thought the nightmare was finally ending. Then, on day 6, the subtle anomalies returned, worse than before. I woke up on Friday morning to find my bank account had been accessed at 3:15 a.m. from my own desktop terminal. A transfer of $15,000 had been executed, sent straight to a private law firm in downtown Seattle. Attached to the transfer was a digital signature and a typed memo for services rendered regarding the non-disclosure and termination of surveillance operations. I didn't send that money. I didn't authorize that transfer. I picked up my phone to call Vance, but before I could hit dial, my door handle jiggled. It was 2 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday. I walked into the foyer and looked through the peephole. Standing on my porch, soaked from the rain, was Marcus Vance. He wasn't wearing his usual sharp suit jacket. He was wearing a dark raincoat. His face was pale, his eyes were bloodshot, and he looked like a man who hadn't slept in 3 days. I unlocked the deadbolt and pulled the door open. "Marcus?" I said. "What's going on? I was just about to call you. There's a weird transaction on my bank."
"Inside, Daniel. Step back inside."
He walked past me into the kitchen. He didn't take off his mud-stained boots. He stood by the kitchen island, his back to me, staring out the window into my backyard. "Did you catch them?" I asked, closing the front door. "Did your guy see who was coming onto the property? Is it someone I know?"
Vance slowly turned around. He didn't look angry. He looked disgusted. He looked terrified. He pulled a thick, heavy manila envelope from his coat pocket
and slammed it onto the laminate kitchen table. "That's your $5,000 retainer," Vance said quietly, "plus the additional $15,000 you wired to my firm's escrow account early this morning." I stared at the envelope. "What are you talking about? Why are you giving my money back?" Vance reached into his jacket again. My heart spiked. I thought he was pulling a notebook. Instead, he pulled out a dark gray Sig Sauer P226 pistol. He racked the slide, chambering around with a violent metallic clack, and set it down gently on the table, right next to the cash. My breath hitched in my throat. I took 2 steps back, hitting my spine against the refrigerator. "Marcus, what is this? What are you doing?" Vance leaned over the table, pressing his hands flat against the wood. He stared straight into my eyes. "We ran the forensics, Daniel. We set up 4 high-definition thermal cameras around your perimeter. We intercepted your router's data packets. We pulled the vehicle registration logs for the gray Subaru that's been parking at the end of your street every night at 2:40 a.m. He paused, swallowing hard. "That vehicle belongs to a private security contract firm called Vanguard Tactical. They're a covert counter-surveillance outfit out of Portland." "Who hired them?" I yelled, tears stinging my eyes. "Who is paying Vanguard Tactical to watch me?"
"Stop looking into this immediately. You're the one paying them." The room went completely silent. The only sound was the rain hammering against the glass window behind him. "What?" I whispered. "You signed a 4-year corporate security contract with Vanguard Tactical 15 months ago," Vance said, pulling a folded stack of legal documents from his inner pocket and throwing them onto the table. "You pay them $1,200 a month out of an offshore account under Aetheria Consulting. You hired them under strict instructions to execute round-the-clock physical stalker protocols against you." No, that's impossible. I didn't sign anything. I'm being framed." "It's your signature, Daniel," Vance barked, pointing a thick finger at the paper. "It's your biometric thumbprint on the contract. It's your voice on the authorization tapes. You instructed them to send encrypted photos of you sleeping to your own inbox. You instructed them to leave tire marks on your driveway. You instructed them to never break protocol, no matter what you said or did during the day." "Why?" I stuttered, my brain spinning out of control. "Why would I do that?" "Because you're sick," Vance said coldly, pulling his coat tight around himself. "Or because you're doing something so dark in your off hours that you needed an external threat to keep yourself trapped inside this house. I don't know, and frankly, I don't give a damn." He tapped the metal frame of the Sig Sauer lying on the table. "Vanguard Tactical isn't going to stop. Their contract states that even if you attempt to cancel it verbally or legally, they are required to treat the cancellation as a test of their security rigor and escalate physical presence. The only way that contract ends is if you die, or if you use that gun." Vance walked toward the front door. "Don't ever call my office again." The door clicked shut. His footsteps faded down the driveway. A car engine started, revved, and pulled away into the distance. I was left alone in the dark. I stood frozen in the middle of my kitchen for 15 minutes. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. My head throbbed with a blinding, terrifying migraine. "It's a lie," I thought, trying desperately to rationalize. Vance was bought off. Vance was threatened by the real Stalker. He's trying to mess with my mind. I lunged for the kitchen table, grabbed the legal documents Vance had left behind, and began tearing through them under the harsh overhead light. There it was. Page 12 of the service agreement. Aetheria Consulting, LLC. My signature was written in dark blue ink at the bottom of every page. The handwriting was unmistakably mine. The distinctive slant on the D, the double loop on the M. I ran to my office,
booted up my primary server terminal, and logged into my master encrypted drive. A drive that requires a 32-character alphanumeric password that only I know. I unlocked the root directory. Sitting in the main folder was a subdirectory labeled Project Echo. I opened it. Inside were hundreds of audio files, time-stamped over the past 2 years. With trembling fingers, I clicked the most recent file, recorded 3 weeks ago at 3:14 a.m. Telemetry log 84, my own voice said through the speakers. Target is responding according to psychological baseline. Paranoia indicators are at 88%. He has begun sleeping with a bat. The sedatives added to the nighttime water supply are holding cognitive awareness back during execution hours.
I dropped my mouse. Vanguard Tactical is performing as expected. Tomorrow, I will initiate Phase 4. I will hire Private Investigator Marcus Vance to investigate the stalking. When Vance uncovers the contract, the target's psychological break will be complete. Target will have no remaining anchored reality. No. If you are listening to this, Daniel, if you are sitting at the terminal reading this file, look at the time. I looked at the bottom right corner of my screen. It was 2:40 p.m. You are wondering why we built this loop. You are wondering why we spent 2 years convincing ourselves that we were being hunted. Look under the floorboards beneath the desk, Daniel. Look at what we hid from the police 3 years ago. My breath stopped in my throat. I slowly lowered myself to my knees. I pulled back the rug beneath my office desk. There was a loose wood plank. I pried it up with my fingernails. Inside the dark cavity beneath the floorboards was a heavy, sealed black plastic bag. Beside it was a stack of newspaper clippings from 3 years ago. Clippings detailing the unsolved disappearance of a 24-year-old woman from my old neighborhood in Seattle. I didn't open the bag. I didn't need to. The realization hit me with the force of a freight train. I hadn't created the Stalker because I was crazy. I had created the Stalker to hunt myself. I had constructed a terrifying, living nightmare to keep my own mind terrified, distracted, and trapped inside this house, so that I would never have the time, the quiet, or the mental clarity to remember what I had done 3 years ago. My phone buzzed on the desk above me. A new text message had arrived from an untraceable burner number. I pulled myself up, reached for the phone, and looked at the screen. It was a photo, a high-resolution image taken from the dark woods behind my house, looking through my office window right now. It showed me, standing at my desk, looking down at the open floorboards. Below the photo was a single text message from Vanguard Tactical's automated server. Surveillance confirmed. Target has uncovered the ledger. Executing final phase protocol. Do not put the gun down, Daniel. You're almost finished. I slowly turned around and looked toward the kitchen table, where Marcus Vance's loaded Sig Sauer sat waiting for me in the dark. And for the first time in 3 months, I realized I didn't know who was about to walk into the room.